keep the human experience, really center of this technology that is going on. If I cannot get it to land in my CRM in a way that works with that ecosystem, it is damn near a non-starter. Like, give them that information so they can feel good that, hey, I can properly serve this customer, because that just perpetuates their confidence, which turns into more sales, and they make more money for them and their family.
Hey, what's going on, Automotive Nation? It is Jason Harris here, and thank you for joining me on another episode of Shift into Profit, where I get to talk to, anybody and everybody I want to talk to on what it takes to actually make our business more profitable. Guys, I have a great guest with me today. I have the one, the only, the oh so famous. I truly did not have to get paid to say this, because he is a heck of a guy. I have Dennis with the Nilo Company. Dennis, what's going on,
What's going on, bro? Good to be here. Good morning.
Good
time at the show, man. And thanks for having me.
I know, right, guys? NADA 2026, full sensory overload. How are you feeling? You doing good?
I'm loving it. It's 70 degrees when I get outside. There's no snow on the ground, and everybody that's supposed to be here actually made it. So
I know,
really
right?
Good.
It's not like it was last year. I feel like this year there was a little bent up demand, because I feel like everyone came out in full force, because a lot of people unfortunately missed out last year with those wild winter storms that we had. Well, man, I'm glad you made it. The show is really, really cool. Hey, real quick, because I love starting off these podcasts. For everybody out there watching and listening who maybe don't know who you are, I love kicking it off with a little origin story. So, Dennis, how in the world did you get started in this crazy little world we call the automotive industry?
So not an uncommon story, really. My dad started selling cars in the 70s for Bob Wondry's Ford, and then he just raised our entire family as a car salesman manager. Yeah. Eventually, got his own independent dealership, and I did the usual swept up cigarette butts, washed cars, and then, when I graduated high school, I wanted to go still do cool stuff, but my dad, I think, wanted me off the payroll, so to speak. So I know he did well, and I just started selling cars full time while I attended the Harvard of the Sierras, and then that's UNR, and then University of Atherton.
I love that. I'm like Harvard of the Sierras. I knew what you were talking about. Not everybody else.
I'm sure you did. Yeah. But a good time there, and then I just started I did well selling cars. At 18, I was, and then I just got more serious about selling cars, and then less serious about school. Got into F&I at, I think, just under 20, and I just kept going and growing, and here we are. What is it? I think it's 28 years later. And
isn't it crazy when you start measuring in decades, you're like, damn, that just happened.
It is. That's why I don't like doing math. You start doing, especially when it comes to timelines. Yeah.
I know. I'm 26 years, you're 28 years into it. I mean, honestly, I kind of I'm like, has it really been that long? But look, this is one of those industries, and you all know this too if you're watching, it gets in your blood. Good luck getting this thing out of it. And no surprise to me that it was in your family blood and it kind of transferred down. Yeah. My youngest, right now, he's 11, and I'm kind of watching. If any one of my kids would do it, he's 100% a salesman. Just loves cars. All right, so it'll be cool to see how that goes. All right, Here's what I like to get into. Look, it's a new year. There's a lot of people here attending some education events, great workshops, having some great conversations with some vendor partners. And, I like to kind of bucket in kind of three different categories. And I'd love to kind of get your take on this, right? When we're thinking of this new year, we're thinking of our people, we're thinking of our process, and we're thinking of our technology. What is kind of on your mind? What are you kind of looking for to improve or expand upon in maybe any one of those buckets?
Yeah, well, I think at the show, it seems like every booth has AI. This button, it's made of AI. It's just everything is AI.
I got my sleeves sewed by an AI. No,
yeah, pretty much. And it's important. It's here to stay. It's going to be a very powerful tool for the organization. So I would say, technology is important. What I don't hear as much in a lot of these conversations, and at least the things we're looking at implementing at the Nilo Company, is I just don't hear getting the data clean so you can get the right message, right time, good experience, all that stuff.
Yep.
And that's more going towards the customer, which I feel is obviously important. You got to do that.
Yes.
But I think what I'm not hearing enough conversation about is when that piece happens, how are we getting that back to the people at the team so we can actually deliver upon the experience?
Completing the loop.
Yeah, and I just, I think the companies that really solve that and take all the great data that we can capture so quickly that we can train on it, right?
Yes.
We can do a good experience, and then we can quickly identify other areas of opportunity, both in terms of training, sales opportunities. So, I really like the people aspect of it, but keeping the human in the loop with the technology to make their jobs really easier.
Well, I like the kind of where you're going with this, and I think this is a cool topic, and I have found it to be one that's pretty prevalent here. And if you're out there watching, listening right now, something you definitely need to think about is there's a lot of disconnect in our business with our people. There really is, right? I remember back, I was talking to a dealer last night. We were kind of swapping dealer stories like you do, right? And I just remember this deal where, all right, we'll call him Mr. Smith, came in to look for a car, and my managers blew him out. They didn't come to any type of reasonable negotiation. At least that's what they thought. Now, when I walked in and I saw Mr. Smith, now you understand, Mr. Smith has bought 6 cars from us, has serviced religiously for over 8 years with our dealership. Mr. Smith can have whatever the hell Mr. Smith wants. Yeah. And they want this deal. Not their fault. They didn't have context, kind of like what you were talking about, right?
Yeah.
And I think this is a really, really great area to look at because it does require people, process, and technology. Is how do I we have all this different data sitting around. How do I bring context to my team fast so they can actually action it?
No, and I love that. I draw, the example for me of that is we all sit down at our computer in the morning, right?
Yeah.
We're at our workstation. We open up our browser or whatever, and then the first tab we open is the tool that we use the most. That's why it's open first.
That's a good point.
And then every other tab or widget or add-on, it's just another tab, and your ability to get information or use the tool effectively with each tab. I mean,
100%.
Someone that's better at math than I could probably put a graph down on what it looks like.
Yes.
But there is all these things, and it needs to be served up where our people are working from. That's easy. They don't need to hunt for it. It needs to be easy.
It needs to be right there in front of them. I want my marketing to be smarter.
Yep.
I want my marketing to have context. I don't want to be putting things in buckets. Like, I'm done with buckets. I don't know. I'm so sick and tired of buckets.
Yeah.
All right.
There'll be a new term at next NADA other than
probably. There will be. But look, I want my BDC to have more context. I want them. I literally had this last week. I got called from my dealership to remind me that I needed an oil change. Dennis, I had just been there 2 weeks before and I was there 2 weeks earlier and got the oil change done. Yeah. I'm like, how much of a disconnect do you guys have right now? Where you don't even know I've already visited your business and already dropped $300.
Well, it's unbelievable. I mean, we've all done it. I've been on the wrong end of this, in terms of with communicating with the customer. And, I pick up the phone and I make a phone, to the customer or send an email, and then you get a reply where they're basically saying, do you guys even talk to one another? And I'm like, well, not really, but if the public could see what we've been facing for decades,
all these silos,
gardens,
yes, the walled gardens and silos,
yeah. It's challenging because they're used to when I pick up the phone and call American Express, hey Dennis, when I call Southwest or whatever,
sure.
They know what I'm calling about, or and it's I'm not saying it's not hard, but it's doable, and I just think that this industry is just really, frankly, ripe for the picking in terms of bringing what everybody expects, and now it's up to us as the dealers to give that experience, because we got to get rid of the black eye we've given on the industry at large.
Well, we have so many interactions, right? Mm-hmm. We have the sales interaction, the one every 4 or 5 years, depending on the customer. I think that's the average right now, is around 4 to 5 years ownership, right? Then we have a service, which is seeing considerably more interaction on it. It's just, there are all these interactions, and our levels of insights, data, and then context to those are just wildly disconnected. I had this great experience the other day. I was on T-Mobile and shopping for a couple new phones. They just launched a new business plan. And so I called them up because I just couldn't quite find the answer what I was looking for. So I called them up. They're like, hey, Mr. Harris, what's your information? And I guess I had been logged in. I didn't realize I was logged into my account. Mm-hmm. And like, oh, well, we see you're looking at this and this. Did you have a question? I'm like, Like, talk about, like, I didn't have to go through like an 8-minute conversation of just to explain them what I was thinking. He was able to see, because I was logged in, exactly where I was and what page of what the page I was on. It was just the context was beautiful. Instead of being an 8-minute conversation, it was a 45-second conversation.
Well, it's like you're driving into work trying to handle some personal stuff, and they're like, "Hey, we need you to put your account number." And I'm like, "Son of a bitch! I'm digging around. I put my account number in. I do all the things, and then someone comes on the phone. Can we get your account number?"
I know.
I mean, that is
awesome?
the experience.
It is the worst thing. But that's the automotive industry.
Yeah,
like that's the automotive industry. Like, I submitted this lead, then I call you, and they're like, "Sorry, what car were you looking at?"
Yeah.
You know, and then I come into the dealership, and they're like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "I've only been on your website and doing research for the last 20 hours, but okay, you know." So,
well, I mean, you know, and I think when I'm looking at all this, this great stuff, and I'm excited about what's coming to the industry, but I think what I really look at as I'm thinking about it and talking to our current vendors or maybe new vendors that we might look at to partner with in the long term is, how are they integrating with my CRM? You know, we're a drive centric. Like, if I cannot get it to land in my CRM in a way that works with that ecosystem, I don't want to say it's a non-starter for me, but it is damn near a non-starter.
Well, there has to be some non-negotiables, and I understand exactly what you're saying, because I was the exact same way when I was a dealer, and this was, I would say the last 5 years has gotten a lot better. You know, a decade ago, the wall gardens was a serious, and a lot of you guys out there watching and listening, I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's only within the last, I would say, 5 or so years where people are really starting to break these things down, opening up, and I can now actually commit to I can get my team to commit to a singular environment and get all this information in there. But that's taken a while.
Well, and it's important. I mean, obviously, having all your communication in one place has a lot of efficient. Like, we've been talking about that a lot.
Context.
But in some states too, like if people. The opt-outs, there's legal things, if you have a challenge
there's compliance,
with the
yes,
customer,
100%, there's a compliance.
So that is super important. And I know from my seat, I'm 28 years in the business, and I sit in our corporate office, so I'm not in the weeds as much. I log in, I can figure it out, but as I'm looking at these things, it's super important to me that I bring other members of my team.
Yes,
I got Kristen Long, I got Michelle, and then I have Kane Carters, and I've got Alex Klutz, and these, Kevin Nunez, and all these people that are really bright minds, but they're in their day to day. So for me, it's important to bring them to the table when we're looking at adopting new technology, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that really have to use it to make it happen. And I don't want to have that Lord Farquaad moment, or like, some of you may die, but it is a chance I am willing to take.
I can't believe you just quoted that. That is absolutely awesome, by the way.
I love that. I love Shrek. That's an all-time favorite of
awesome.
my family. But because we all, everybody comes to work, and if it's really hard for them to do their job, they go home tired to their families,
100%.
And we just have a responsibility to give them a nice environment to do the job, because they're dealing with rejection day in, day out. Like, the least thing we could do is give them a nice, something that's usable and that they can learn from, and
well, it makes them more confident. It makes them better. I mean, look, Dennis, I know we're getting towards the tail end of our time, and I think for everybody out there watching and listening, I think you guys can hear what we're talking. There's a pattern here, right? Making sure that everybody has context, both your customer and your staff, just makes a better both staff experience, because what staff hates to pick up the phone and talk to someone and say, "Are you kidding me? I just already did that."
Yeah.
How the hell do you not know that? That feels horrible.
Well, it does feel horrible. And the other thing that really feels horrible is, I think, as human beings, when we're asked a question, we really want to be able to give the other person and answer the appropriate information. And if we're, and we can't expect everybody to know everything, right? So we've got to be able to give them that information so they can feel good that, hey, I can properly serve this customer, because that just perpetuates their confidence, which turns into more sales, and they make more money for them and their family, and it just it keeps going on.
It's just a better experience for everyone.
We really got to keep the human experience really center of this technology that is going on, because I think if we lose sight of that, we're I mean, everything is getting automated, right?
Yeah.
And you can spin up a website with like all the stuff you read about it. And I know there's a lot more complexity, but why do people pay thousands or tens of $1,000s for whatever shoes or watches? But because they're handmade,
yes.
And that is, I think, going to be we need to keep
time.
that part in there,
Yes. It does. It makes it for a much more higher quality experience. Yeah. Look, Dennis, I know we're at the Delaware time. Whenever me and you chat, I feel like I'm just going to blow over this. We need to have and it's funny, every time we chat, I always end up finding like 2 or 3 more topics. I'm like, damn, that's like a whole nother podcast. So for sure, I know we're going to end up doing this again shortly soon. But for everybody out there watching and listening right now, who would love to connect and maybe follow along with your journey, like what's the best way to do so?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on LinkedIn's the best place to find me. I've got all the other stuff, but I just, I'm mostly on LinkedIn. If you get on my Instagram, you're going to see a picture from like 8 weeks ago, and that might be it. I'm not really active.
I'm the same. Yeah. It's all about LinkedIn. Yeah. Well, man, I really appreciate you taking the time to jam with me today. This has been a lot of fun. And we appreciate you guys for watching and listening. Hey, look, one of the biggest compliments you can give us as content creators is share the show, right? If you got a manager or a leader in the business or a colleague that needs to see some portion of today's conversation, it means a lot to us when you share the show. Dennis, thank you so much for taking the time. Well, and this has been a great
If you reach out, if you have questions or whatever, I'm always happy to talk because that's how I learn is through
you are so good about that.
I love talking, and the more we're talking, the better we're all going to be. So Thanks for this venue. You're doing a great service for the industry, man. So
thanks, man. I appreciate it. And for you guys, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. You guys have yourselves an amazing day.